legs, no nose, a slit for a mouth. Who are these Greys? But more important, why are they here?
From out of this mist, these gray beings came out with black eyes.
We are in remote British Columbia, near the town of 100 Mile House. We're going to meet with Miriam Delicato to hear about her encounters with Greys.
It was October 1988. We were driving in northern British Columbia, and all of a sudden, out of absolutely nowhere, these lights appeared behind the car. It was almost as wide as 2 lanes. We actually thought that they were a big truck or something. The lights started popping on and off. The girl driving started to get really afraid. And then all of a sudden, out of absolutely nowhere, I said to her, pull over the car. It's not you they want, it's me.
What possessed you to say that?
I really didn't know at that point.
Miriam's story, it's very interesting, but I find it a little far-fetched because she was in a car with 3 other people. None of them saw what she saw. None of them experienced what she experienced. They just don't remember it, period.
I was just about ready to grab the steering wheel because she didn't want to pull over, and her head tilted to the side, and she just pulled over.
Did she pull over voluntarily?
Something must have been guiding her because all of a sudden she became very quiet. And once the car was in the stop position, nobody in the car was moving at that point. Suspended animation is the way I describe it.
There have been hundreds of stories like Miriam's, and the elements of these stories all match up.
In front, these short Greys were walking towards me, and they were about 3.5 feet tall, a little bit larger, bulbous type of heads with the round black eyes. There was no features on them that distinguished one from the other. And then I start hearing a voice in my head. And it was, okay, get out of the car, do not be afraid, we will not harm you. My hand started reaching to the handle. I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I got out of the car. They walked towards me, and they took me by the hand.
Miriam's walking to the UFO, and she's actually guided by one of these Greys. They actually hold hands. Did this really happen? What would tell me if it did or not are the details. The details would allow me to make some sort of determination. When you touched the Grey's hand, did it feel soft and fleshy, or was it a bit more solid?
It was solid. They were really cold, and it wasn't like warmth from, a person or an animal. It was cold.
But wouldn't a normal reaction be to run for your life or pull yourself away from little beings that are dragging you into a ship?
Absolutely, but there was no conversation other than, do not be afraid, we will not harm you, which did actually calm me down.
This is very interesting what Miriam is saying about the Greys calming her. Maybe they have some way of doing this, perhaps telepathy is involved.
They just simply took me by the hand, led me down the highway. When I looked up, I saw a very large craft, probably about 40 or 50 feet across. And right at the doorway were these 2 tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed aliens.
Nothing like the Greys.
Absolutely nothing like them whatsoever. These short Greys that had been with me just let go of my hand, and I walked on board the craft with the 2 tall blondes.
What's the relationship of the Greys that took you from the car to these tall blondes?
I would say that these Greys were their helpers.
When you say Greys, it's not just one species of extraterrestrial. There are many, many different species of them. What we heard from Miriam is that this species was obviously totally servile, almost robotic-like.
There are multiple species of aliens visiting the planet Earth. This is completely new to me, and I'm not quite sure what to think of it right now.
We walked on board this craft, and they sat me down on this chair, and in front of me came a screen out of thin air, and then they started showing me all of these different images.
What kinds of images were these?
Images of catastrophes on the planet. Earthquakes, solar flares, war, and I was shown all of these different, what I believe is sort of like timelines. and paths that humanity could take. And then I was explained how if we came together as a species, that we would be able to avoid any and all of these events.
I know Bill thinks this is normal. He's been talking to eyewitnesses and abductees for years, but to me, this is pretty far out there.
So what is the purpose of all this? What are they trying to do?
It was explained to me that they are the caretakers of this earth, and that their purpose in being here is to help enlighten us, make us aware of who we are, and to make sure that we do not destroy ourselves or the planet.
Well, this is very interesting what Miriam is telling us about the Greys, showing her pictures of wars and the way we're harming the planets. It sounds to me like they're bringing a benevolent message, that they're trying to help us. It doesn't sound to me like these are aliens that wish us harm.
I believe that some of these Greys can be trusted, and some of them you absolutely should not.
Are the Greys here to help us or hurt us?
The Greys that I encountered, I believe, are here to help us. But there are several different types of Greys, and I know one in particular has a very dark agenda.
So how would you like to proceed tonight?
Start on the table. It's scary. It's very uncomfortable. It's painful.
Bill and Peggy Foster claim that in 1996 in North Carolina, they had a close encounter with extraterrestrial gray beings. Furthermore, they say that the Greys abducted them and performed medical experiments that haunt them to this very day.
I do see some of those Greys shaved.
Witnesses and abductees really have no tangible evidence that they've ever encountered a Grey. So the best we can do is hypnotic regression.
Deeper, deeper, relax.
And that's what we have. We have videos of Bill and Peggy Foster's hypnosis sessions.
Deeper. I guess I shouldn't have tried touching.
Something traumatic happened to these two people.
My life would have been 100% simpler without ever knowing anything about it.
I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I just wanted to forget the whole incident.
And if the answer to the question is yes, raise your index finger. Good.
Bill and Peggy Foster both claim they were abducted by gray alien beings. They claim that medical experiments were performed on them.
I do see some of those Greys shaved.
We have the hypnotic regression sessions of Bill and Peggy Foster.
This is exclusive to UFO hunters, right? This is something that we have access to. We're watching this for the first time. Nobody else has seen these tapes.
Close to my face. This one's taller than the rest. Much bigger eyes. It's like looking into eternity.
That's poetic.
He seems to be describing a Grey. I think he was describing a very profound experience. I mean, you're looking into the eyes of a being that's visiting this planet. I mean, that's huge.
What happened when you look at him?
Really relaxes me.
So what do you guys think about his description of the being? Huge eyes, and the being has a tranquilizing effect on him.
Well, his description of the huge eyes obviously comports with Betty Hill's description and other descriptions that everybody has given of a Grey. Huge eyes. The tranquilizing effect, what do you think? Telepathic?
Yeah, it sounds standard. I've heard it before. Feeling calm through telepathy. It's what everybody says happened.